Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Music Podcast once again. Today, sitting in with me is PJ Farley. PJ has been a much sought-after musician in the music industry for more than 35 years now, with an accomplished resume that includes stints with Trixter, of course, Lita Ford, Eric Martin Band, 80s tribute, Rubix Kube, and of course, Fozzy. Speaking of Fozzy, the band is preparing for another round of touring. It seems like you guys are on the road all the time. Dates through October and early November in North America and over to the UK in the last half of February. PJ, it is a pleasure to have you, man.
Likewise, man. The honor is all mine. Thanks for listening.
Absolutely,
Willing
absolutely.
to.
I mean, you got a lot of music out there. You've got all kinds of stuff on the resume. It's great. You've been doing this a very long time. Out on the road all the time. I know you got a family there.
Yep.
What's a typical day off the road look like for you?
Usually, like today, I happen to be home, and it's like just like any other day. Get up around 6:30 or something like that, and get the kids ready for school. Get them off the bus, and then just take care of a little biz. I like to go to the gym, so I'm up and at it pretty early, and just get on with the day. Unfortunately, I like to say I'm a morning person and a night person because my job dictates that I have to be awake at night, but I also like to get up early. So the
Yep.
struggle is real. And
Yeah.
then whatever I got to do, I can take the garbage out. I got to, whatever.
Yeah, I made the interview time here and everything, and I thought it's 8 a.m. by me, and I thought 8 a.m. What kind of rock star wakes up at 8 a.m.?
I got a half a day underneath me already.
It's awesome, man. It's awesome. Well, the early bird gets the worm, that's for sure. Um, you know, you got another big bill with Fozzy coming up. Seventh Day Slumber, Nocturnal Affair, Magdalene Rose, as opposed to GFM. When I saw you last time on this big bill, it was Nocturnal Affair and GFM and all of
Right.
those bands. So it's cool that you're taking these bands out there too. Are these bands, they're easy to work with. They're always there. They're on time. A lot of newer bands, it's a risk. You got three newer bands taken with you.
Yeah.
How cool is that to have these younger bands on the bill?
Yeah. I mean, you said it. It's great. I mean, for one, they're on time. That's really one of the major boxes. But
Yep.
no, I mean, yeah, this package has become kind of a steady thing just because the chemistry with all the bands are really good. And, that's rare. It's rare when you have a couple bands on tour and you don't have that one that you try to avoid, or just kind of makes things difficult. It's very easy. So, at this stage in our game, we're trying to make a simpler life. And these guys, all these bands are great. And of course, Maggie, we had out with GFM and become family, a couple years ago. So adding her into the mix is, really easy. And she's already checked off all the boxes.
Yeah.
So
Right.
she's a welcome addition. And so yeah, it's just it's like getting back into summer camp,
Yeah.
same camp and the same group of kids.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. It's a great bill. For anybody who hasn't seen it, you need to check it out because these are all good bands, and it's a nice long show and lots of different stuff too. Really cool show. I've seen you with Fozzy about 4 times now, maybe. The first show, I thought, oh, it's a good band. The last show, I thought this is one of the tightest units I've ever seen. Really, really just gelling so on in the pocket all the time. Is really sharp. How do you get to that point? You're doing so many things. You guys are all in different parts of the country, I think. Um, tell me what a rehearsal looks like for you. I mean, I don't think you're beyond rehearsals, right? No band is beyond rehearsals. Um, how often does that happen? Where does it happen? Are you guys in the same room? Do you run through the whole set? How does getting ready for something like this work?
Um, well, I'd love to say that we're a band that rehearses, but we
Really?
do. Yeah, no. No, we don't. It's just a kind of, we're all big boys. We all know the poems,
Hmm.
and it's about self preparation. Like you said, I have a lot of stuff going on, but when a Fozzy tour is coming up, or just like I prepare for any tour, it's like okay, you know, what's on my desk right now,
Hey,
and I get all in with that. I try to clean the slate. Although I'm doing so many projects, I don't cross contaminate. I won't sit on the Fozzy bus and start going over Mr. Big songs or Trixter songs or something like that, and vice versa. I won't. I'll make sure I have, even if it's 2 days beforehand, to get my you know hard drive clear and get into mode of whatever I'm going into, and it helps to reset and recall the muscle memory of whatever you're going into, because it's all there. It's all in here. That's all that's in here, by the way. So I got a couple of set lists, and that's all I can help you with, really. Um, so if I could just do that, rehearsal at this point, it all rehearsals like sound check. It's like, oh wow, sound check sounds great. Tonight's gonna be awesome. And then you get on stage and everything can go to shit. So it's
right.
kind of it all happens on stage, as I say, it's in God's hands. So you can rehearse till you're blue in the face, but the bottom line is, once you get up on stage, that's when it really counts. And you can't over prepare. You can over prepare for it, and it gets in your head. So yeah, no. The bottom line is we don't rehearse. We just come prepared.
That's just, and that shows a really large level of professionalism from you guys because, yeah, I swear to you, this last time and the last couple times that I've seen this band, it is sharp. I mean, you guys are spot on all the time. It's crazy. I mean, you would think that you guys are rehearsing constantly. And I know that's not the case, because you're in different parts of the country and you're all busy with different things.
Yeah.
Wow, that is amazing to hear.
We've been touring a lot. I mean, and that's really, you know, better than rehearsing a lot. I mean, doing it on stage and feeling out the vibe on stage. I've been in the band 3 years now, and um, we tour 2, 3 times a year, and it becomes, that muscle memory thing. With this unit as we have been, um, it's just getting stronger and stronger, as we would hope it would be, as opposed to getting weaker and weaker.
Right.
All the thing that we've been doing. So yeah, it's definitely becoming into that well-oiled machine category. Um, so we're as confident as we've ever been, and I think the band, even before I've been in it, I know, you know, Chris and Rich will tell you the same. I don't think they've ever felt any better about a band and going on stage right now than we've been right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's really impressive, man. I mean, it is really impressive. I see a shit ton of bands all the time,
Yeah,
and I see a lot of good bands. I see a lot of great bands, and then I see those magical bands where there's just a certain something that others don't have. And that's few and far between where you just reach that level of magic. Uh, that's been happening with Fozzy. I come out of there and I go, wow, that is just, you don't even need to like the material or anything. It's just so on target and so well oiled. It's
get it.
really, really impressive, man. And it's funny when I first heard of Fozzy, and I knew it was Chris Jericho, and I'm thinking, this is a wrestler, he probably should stick to wrestling. I was ready to write it off, you know what I mean? And I think I heard a cover, the first album's covers. It was way back in the day. And, I gave it a chance and I thought, wow, it's pretty good. It's not the song selection and the band selection really was geared toward me.
Yeah.
Um, but I thought this is pretty good now with original material and everything, and these albums that are coming out are really high quality. It's a serious thing. He is a serious singer. He is a musician, and it's really impressive. Tell me when you first heard of Fozzy, and did you have any reservations on the band when you heard, what you got a wrestler guy involved. That's that was his thing. What was your impression of Fozzy before you heard them?
To be honest with you, I wasn't all that familiar. I knew of Fozzy. I knew, I've known, Chris for almost 15 years now. It's so I'm well aware of Fozzy. Not material. I wasn't material wise, but I had heard blips here and there over the years, but never really. It just never wasn't really on my radar, so to speak. But I met him through Eddie Trunk introduced us, and we went to dinner one night, and we just talked music the whole time. And he had just come from a wrestling match. I had just come from doing his, radio show. Steve and I we just did his radio show on 104.3 in New York. And he's like, "Come on, I'm going to dinner with Jericho. He wants to meet you guys." And so like, all right. So we all live in Jersey, so we're all heading back anyway. And we just talked music, and I was, really blown away by his knowledge of music.
Yeah.
And I knew of him, but I wasn't into wrestling at the point. I wasn't really that aware of Fozzy. I had heard of Fozzy. I knew he was a wrestler and he had this band. That's all I knew at the time we had met, but I was really impressed with his musical taste and knowledge. I mean, he was, right away I knew this was a passionate music lover, a guy who knew his shit and, didn't take it lightly. So I was really impressed with that. And we had, stayed in touch and become friends over the years. And I would say over the last 10 years or so, I've become a little bit more familiar with Fozzy, really along the same pace as the rest of the world, because I had heard stuff on Octane and whatnot. And actually, a friend of mine was the bass player in the band, the guy Paulie DeLeo, is a Jersey guy and a friend of mine. So for years, I was aware of Fozzy through him more than anything.
Okay.
So, and then in 2020, when I was asked to join the band, that's when I became, had to go down the well and dig
Right.
into and really just kind of blown away by it, and how much I enjoyed it. It really sparked me up. So it was pretty cool to just go down the rabbit hole and just keep finding these Easter eggs of songs that I dug. Some of them I knew from the radio, and I was even more surprised at how many songs from the radio I knew as well. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, I did know this band.
Yeah. And I was just saying pretty much the same for me. Once I started listening, I was like, wow, this is a legit band. It was really well written songs and a lot of stuff that I really like. You started your journey 16 years old with Trixter, right? Yeah, crazy. What was life like for you growing up? And you had to make a lot of mistakes at that point, right? With the way record companies were working at the time too. It's a little hard to play the game if you don't, if you're young, you may not know the
Right.
pitfalls. What was that like for you coming up at that time?
It was blissful, I should say, because you're right. We
It's
were all young. We had no worries in the world. We had no real financial responsibility at that time.
Mhm.
Just a bunch of kids. Even our road crew was our friends from town. So it was just our pack of friends going out on the road and living our dreams. So it was pretty blissful, I'd say. No care in the world. No real attachments, no real responsibilities. Kind of the best case scenario. So, you know, being from Jersey, I think being from Jersey, we're always very realistic, though. And we hear all the stories about people, shit in the bed and the rug kind of being pulled out from underneath. So always kept a good head on our shoulders, although we weren't, you know, not to say we were very cocky, just because we were confident and full of piss and vinegar.
Yeah.
But we always joke that, hey, we're just happy to be here, and we're one bed song away from working on a 7-Eleven. We always kind of kept it lighthearted and appreciative. So as cocky as we were, we never took it for granted or expected anything more to come.
That's cool. That's cool. That's the way to be, man. At that young age, how did you get to be so tight? How did you learn to play? I mean, school lessons? That's a quick learning curve right there, you were pretty accomplished by that age. How's that happen?
Man, I mean, we were playing all the underage clubs, the high schools, wherever they would have us. We played a lot. We played almost every weekend. And for a band as young as we were to be playing every weekend is kind of rare.
Hmm.
So really honed our skills live. And, we did rehearse. We would rehearse every week, and we play on the weekends. It was just simple as that. We did nothing else. We were just a band. We went to school, and then we played music.
Uh,
That was in a nutshell.
that's cool. That's cool. That's how it goes. What would you say to that kid now? After being in the industry for so long and doing so many different things, it went well for you at that age. But is there any piece of advice that you would share with yourself, a kid that age at this point?
Um, yeah, I mean, thinking back, I always go, oh, I would have done this, I would have done that. I don't really have those things where I say to myself, man, I should have done this, I should have done that, because again, I was so young and I was so focused that I didn't really do anything that I kind of regretted or
Awesome.
you know, I, I would just say to myself, hold on tight. It's going to be a bumpy ride, you know. But I also feel like I did hold on tight, I mean, because
Hmm.
I've been through so much, man. I've played every arena in the country multiple times. I've played stadiums. I've played, sold out tours, been on TV, gold records, the whole nines. But I've also played the opening of a 7-Eleven for free to nobody. I've played in coat racks and music in, fucking Nordstrom's. I've played every beer bar, every venue, you know, I paid the dues. I went, kind of started ass backwards for me. I went back and paid my dues, grinding it out in the bars and the clubs and the cover scene and all that stuff, and I would say there's no way around that for most people,
Yeah.
yes, I've done what so many musicians would love to do, but there's an upper echelon of musicians that didn't have to go and do the dirty work that most of us did, and we got a lot of flack for it coming to us early, like, oh, these kids didn't pay our dues. Well, it was coming. Like, slow down, haters. We're on top right now. We're gonna go back and pay our debt. Don't you worry about it. And we certainly did, and it definitely wasn't, and it's not wasn't glamorous, but it was absolutely necessary. And it absolutely made me such a better musician. And like I said, we always appreciated everything that came to us, but going back and taking like I would say 7-year break from touring back in the mid to late 90s, and just paying the dues, uh, it built character. and it definitely made a man out of you and a much better musician. And, you know, I appreciate it because it allowed me to just do nothing but continue to be a musician. Yeah, it wasn't in arenas, but I'm still playing music.
Yep.
So, and creating music at the same time. So it was on paper, it would be like you would say, well, I'm sure you'd like to skip that part of your journey, but not at all. Not at all.
That's cool. That's great to hear, man. That's
It
cool.
also keeps you grounded too, because to this day, I'll come home and go do a local gig or something like that. People go, "Wow, you just played, Wembley Stadium last week, and now you're playing, this." It's like I always say, it's just another day in the office.
Yeah.
They can
There you
all
go.
be.
That it's awesome, man. And it's great to have that humility too, and realize that it works both ways. There's that Wembley Stadium, and then there's that local bar.
Right.
It can happen either way. Um, what's the secret to staying relevant all these years? You go through these things. Is it just persistence, the love of the game?
Yeah. I mean, it's a good question because I think any musician can always play music. I mean, nothing's going to stop you really, except yourself. But yeah, I mean, I think the thing you can't control is staying relevant, staying current, especially
Mhm.
coming out of an era like the one I did,
Yeah.
and, managing to um, still be dealing with radio and, you know, it's just yeah, that's a question that I don't think I really. There's definitely no plan, because every musician would go, all right, I'm gonna be a relevant musician all my life. If you
Right, right.
make that choice, of course that's the choice you'd want to make, But the only thing I can come up with for my situation and how I've been kind of been able to sort of maintain that is just the fact that I 1000% believe in everything that I do, and I'm fully committed. And I think that subconsciously projects in some way, shape, or form, and does something to uh, your your manifestation, and it brings things to you. And I think if you're not phoning it in, and you really believe that you belong somewhere, you'll get there. That's the only thing I can think of, because there's no other reason for me to have continued to level up, or even just maintained. You come from Trixter, say, quote unquote, an 80s hair band. A lot of those bands are either still doing those bands that they grew up in, and lucky enough to still be able to do it, grandfathered in. And that's amazing. Much like I do with Trixter, you know,
Right.
but be able to jump onto another level and go from Trixter into, say, Raw, which was on Universal Records and current active rock band, boom, and then
Mhm.
then I'm jumping another level with, say, Lita Ford, and then back to Trixter, and then Eric Martin. I mean, it's just, you can't just decide to do stuff like that. And then Fozzy, now I'm top 10 rock radio and doing all this crazy shit. You can't decide to stay relevant, to make yourself relevant. You have to believe that you belong and that you are relevant. And
Yeah.
then
It, it,
works out.
yeah, it sure does.
the only the only short answer I have for you.
It's pretty great, because I do, I've had a chance to photograph you and there's a certain something, I don't know, I feel it when I photograph musicians. I've photographed people, they look great on stage. You photograph them and they look like they do on stage. You're different though. There's a certain something that you're in front of that lens, and I it feels electric. And there's a lot of musicians like that, because I think because it's genuine, you're feeling it. There's something coming off of that. There's a certain something that, when I put that camera up and put it to my face, it looks like magic in there, man. It's like wow, that's just, you're as bright as the spotlight behind you. There's a certain spark in a musician like that that's feeling it. And that's pretty special, man. And
Well, that's great. I mean, you take amazing pictures. I'm stealing your photos all the time, so I
thank you.
appreciate that, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And that's why I do it. Really. It's I just I love that magic of
Yeah.
seeing a
Well,
guy like yourself. That there it's great. It's great. There's and the audience feels that too. I'm not the only one, so it's
well, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm in the moment, so that's definitely maybe that accounts for something.
I'm sure. That's it, man, for sure. Um, Ra, will you be doing that tour? There's a tour, a Ra tour with Union Underground and Soil. You doing that tour?
No, I can't do it.
Okay. I
Okay.
was like,
Finally, juggling all these bands. The scheduling guys have been so good to me for so many years, and I mean, I can't tell you some of the crazy shit scheduling that have magically lined up for me over the years. But now it's almost impossible. I mean, I just can't keep up. So unfortunately, I can't do the Raw tour. I mean, and Raw it's always been that band that is active and goes away for 7 years. Then,
perfect.
um, so it's been pretty easy to juggle, but now he's been gearing up a lot lately, relatively speaking. And, Ra is always in my heart, and Sahaj knows that. And anytime I can, I will. He knows that too. So, but, at this point, it's just, he's stuck with me all these years, much like I stuck with him. And, we just have kind of an unspoken thing at this point to where he sees my schedule. He's like, I can't even ask him. I don't, it's a, it's a, it's good to see the band active under any circumstances, whether I can be there or not, because I still feel like it's part of me. So I'm glad that it's going out there and, putting the wheels back on it, because it deserves. It's always been kind of my, you know, uh, for years, Ra was kind of, I always say, equated to my long distance girlfriend that no one gets to meet. Yeah, Ra, it's about this band. Oh, you got to hear this band, man.
Yeah.
So glad it's up and running.
20 years in that band, right?
Yep.
2000. Yeah, it's crazy. It's
Yeah.
awesome. What a great band too. Now, I mean, you've done a bunch of shows with Eric Martin. He's about to close the book on Mr. Big. I think they got a big 2024 thing happening.
Mhm.
But I think they're kind of winding down. That this is the last tour. I think they've said.
Yep.
Uh, any writing or recording with Eric? Is that something that you'd like to do if you haven't been doing that? Like do original music with him and write with him?
Yeah. I mean, we've been talking about that for years now.
Yeah.
It's just actually doing it. I've written a bunch of stuff that, would send to him, and, he likes, and then then he's off to Europe for 3 months, then
Right.
I'm off, and then, so it's just about getting it together. It's just so hard with our schedules.
Mhm.
um and he's always, if he's not in Mr. Big at the moment, he knows it's in the back of his mind that it's gonna come back at some point. So who knows, man. And now after next year, and the the mothership goes away to a land far, far away, for good. Maybe he'll, maybe we'll do something. Who knows? I mean, there's definitely talks about it, and we're always, you know, kicking it around. But
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool. 2016. You're a writer. You're a solo artist. I've seen you with a guitar, not a bass. It's pretty cool. Seen you sing. Um, not everybody gets a chance to see that a lot of times because you're playing bass for most of the time. But solo album, you do all those things. Boutique sound frames in 2016, 2020, accept a change, accent to change. Uh, does the solo material give you something that these other bands don't? You get to do all those things that I mentioned, and it's yours, it's your writing. Um, is that something, is that an outlet for you? You got so much stuff going on, yet here you are making another thing, doing that solo record. Do you need that?
Yeah, more than I think I need it, because it happens and I don't plan it. So it comes to me. And like even now, I've been writing a lot lately and I've been busier this year, I think, than I'd like to say than in previous years. I could be wrong, but I mean, I've been all over the place this year. And somehow you would think I get home and just downtime, but I've been writing and I don't know why or how, but I have been. So it's just one of those things that it's me telling me that, yep, you need it. You can't stop even if you wanted to. And where there's a will, there's a way. And um, so yeah, it's something that I do that I need to do. And as far as my solo stuff is concerned, I've always been more of an organic kind of artist type writer in the sense that I write for myself to write something that I hear in my head and I want it to come out so it's out of my head. And that's as far as I need it to go. As long as I can get it recorded and done and it sounds good to me the way I envisioned it, success in my head. That's why my first record is full of songs that I wrote that I sat on for 15 plus years because I recorded them. They're good. And I was in bands on record labels and doing all that. And that's not why I wrote those songs. I wrote those songs because they just got to get out of me. So it wasn't meant to go fight the system and, play record label exec, battle and all that stuff. I sat on those songs because I was already at peace with them. Eventually I'm like, all right, now it's time for everyone else to hear them. Just throw them in the cloud and put them out there. I do write for the projects that I'm in, based on, the perimeters that I have to write for, but I'm not a song, kind of like a production line songwriter per se. I like to write just for what I hear. Although I can write for somebody brings me a song, I go, I got a bridge for that, or I can rearrange that for you or add a melody. I can do that.
Right.
But if somebody said, I need you to write me a song like this, I don't necessarily like that. I don't like assignments, so to speak. So that's where this solo material comes out. It comes from me writing something, going, oh, this is cool. And I don't have to write it for anything that I'm in or for anything. I just write whatever it sounds like, and I'll call that me.
Yeah, that's pure artistry. That's the artist at its purest, I think, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Will we see another solo record?
I don't know. I'd never like to answer that question because it puts a thing to it. Once I
Right.
finished the solo record, which became a record, again, it was just started being me writing and recording songs. Wasn't for a record, became a record. Then my second record came about because more songs came. I'm like, all right, I guess I have another record here. So I'm writing now. I'll say that.
Yeah, yeah. Eventually we'll get a record. I know we will. We're gonna have to, right? You're not gonna stop writing. It's cool. I see something on the YouTube channel, um, uh, from Jellyfish. Uh, Jellyfish, man, oh man. I like to talk Jellyfish whenever
All
I
day.
can because nobody knows Jellyfish, and it's so frustrating. Uh, one of the greatest bands, one of the greatest pop bands I think since the Beatles. And I know that's big words, but I really feel that. I so I have to
No,
ask you,
I get it. I'm with
yeah,
you.
yeah. I mean, it's just, Um, so I have to ask you, Belly Button or Spilt Milk? Now, this is for those that don't know, it's a 90s power pop, I want to say, band. Um, Incredible harmonies, incredible musicians. And I've had a couple of them on the show. Great people. Uh, Go get this Jellyfish Records. They've made two of them, one Belly Button, one Spilt Milk. They're both equally spectacular. Do you have a choice?
I mean, that's like Sophie's Choice, man.
It's crazy, isn't it?
I don't, I don't, I don't think I could even answer it. I mean, there's so, if you listen to both those records, you go, oh, this is the same band, right? It sounds the same, but they're, when you're so close to them, like I feel like I am, they're very different too. And they both serve very different purposes. Like obviously Belly Button was my introduction to them. So I was like, you know, your first impression is it's a huge one, but then you get a follow up like Spilt Milk, and you just
Mm.
it's almost it was almost their destiny that they break up after that, because where are they gonna go after that?
Right.
It's like that's all you can handle.
It's
So
insane.
you can't. It's a 1-2 punch for me. It's not a this or that. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's Jellyfish is on a whole other level. Licorice Court.
there's something about when somebody just connects, and Andy Sturmer, you would say some people would, hear him sing and go, yeah, I've heard people go, yeah, I don't know if I like his voice or something, or he's not a great singer or something like that. But it's like, to me, he could sing the phone book and I'm all in. Like, I'm just like,
Yep, they're right.
just something about his delivery, his tone, I mean, um, it just connects.
And the
Just
wordplay, the lyric writing is so creative and unique and
it's, I mean, any, it's got every amount of creativity you can imagine, along with being the catchiest, intricate, well, well thought out, and executed music without sounding forced and not genuine. I mean, to be able to pull off what they pulled off and make it sound as organic as they did, that is the magic of Jellyfish. Because when you listen to, especially some of the songs on Spilt Milk, like, Brighter Day and stuff with a zillion tracks of every instrument and stuff, and you just go, oh yeah, that's supposed to be there. But think of how much thought and effort is just on that song alone,
yeah.
and to not sound like a heaping pile of layered bullshit.
Mhm.
Because on paper, that's what it is. But
Right,
when you
right.
hear it, it just sounds like genius.
Yep,
But
absolutely.
most producers would be like, are you fucking kidding me? No, it's done. It's done. And they're like, no, it's not. Put this on it now. Now try. And, literally put the kitchen sink on a song, and it would sound like overkill or just trying too hard. And they fucking nailed it.
It really did. And it's cool to hear you talk about them like that. I was just reading Rick Emmett's new autobiography. It hasn't come out yet. But he mentions Belly Button as one of the greatest produced records that he's ever heard. And this is a real veteran, Rick Emmett of Triumph, of course. Um, I, Tyson Leslie, I know from Vixen, I want to say, but so many things. He's we played in a Jellyfish cover band. He told me it was one of the most difficult things he's ever done.
Yeah.
Just to nail all those things that are going on is close to impossible. So to hear a musician, and Mike Portnoy has talked about Jellyfish too, and I love hearing that because they deserve that. So it's cool.
Literally, if you get like Jellyfish fans are like, not like Kiss fans, like because there's a Jellyfish army. But
There is.
I shit you not, if you put me in a room or any Jellyfish fan in a room full of people and somebody mentions the word Jellyfish from across the room, I would go
Yeah.
and then gravitate and friends for life. It's like, because you would sit there and talk for 2 hours without taking a sip of a drink or anything. It would be like a first date with that great girl that you just met. I mean, and you just bond immediately.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why it's
It is. It's and you know the weird and it's a band that very few people know. It never
yeah.
really took off, which is just crazy to me. Um, Licorice Quartet. Have you heard it? Yeah, yeah, and that's a nice little substitute.
Yeah.
It's
Got all the ingredients.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Those guys, great, man. You've got a career, you've got a nice legacy, you got a beautiful family. Anything else you want out of life?
Um, man, I think I just try to the only thing, I don't need anything really like in my life. I always joke that, like, am I, well, if I, as long as my family can get out safely, if my house burned, like, I don't have things or stuff, or even guitars and stuff like that. I have a bass and a guitar that I love. You know, that's it. All my other ones, like, I don't collect gear. I don't have stuff or things. Like, I don't I don't need anything. I could live in a car.
Well, you do a lot of times. A bus,
Good thing,
or,
it's good to roll like that. Um, so I just try every day to kind of balance my chaotic life with some sort of peace, and simplicity. Try to balance that out. That's the one thing that I work towards every day, because I'm blessed to have the chaotic life, a blessed chaotic life, I should say. But there's a responsibility with that, in finding that balance, and peace and simplicity, and uh, because you can't have chaos around chaos, otherwise
Yep,
it, it's all over. So that's my responsibility, is to kind of balance it out.
that's cool, and you
That's
do
all.
you do a great job at it, man.
Trying, trying.
I don't know how you do it, but it's crazy. Um, we're gonna wrap it up here. Say we end here, the phone rings. Who would you most want on the other end of that call?
Um, that's a that's a trick question, that's for sure. I mean, man, you know,
Paul
dead or
McCartney, maybe?
what's that?
Paul McCartney, maybe?
God, no, man, I'd be too fucking intimidated by that. Although I would say yes, because I just, that's part of my curse. I say yes to everything because I'm like, sure, I can do that. Well, no problem. Let's see if I can do that. Um, that's what kind of keeps me on my toes. So, although if you asked me if Paul McCartney called, would I answer? I'd be like, fuck no. But I would go and do it, and you know, with my tail between my legs. But yeah, man. I mean, I would love to be in his presence for sure, just to, you know, let him tell me everything I'm doing wrong. I learn more from that than if he told me the good things or the right things to do. You know,
Yep, yep. You learn more from the test you fail than the test you pass.
right?
That's kind of the
Take that from him for sure.
yeah. Awesome, man. Awesome. PJ, I love you, buddy. This has been great. Yeah, I can't wait to see you on the road.
You see, right? See you in a couple weeks.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
They playing the Forge.
yeah.
Uh, it's a cool venue, man.
Great.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. There's always a crowd there that is vested. They're going to be out there. They're going to be loud. That's why I love that venue is the people come to rock out. They're there and they're serious about it. It's cool.
Sure, I can vouch. I've been there.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. I can't wait to see you.
All right,
Be well, my friend.
all right.
I'll see you soon.
Okay, pal.
All right. Bye.